evening, everyone. Welcome to the District 71 Centenary celebrations. My name is Nick Collins and I'm your Zoom master for the evening. Before we start, I'd just like to run through some basic Zoom etiquette, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with at this stage. Can you please ensure that you've muted your microphone if you're not speaking? We welcome you to keep your videos on, although as you can appreciate, we are recording today's session. Our chat function will remain on for messages relevant to the session. And if you have any questions, if you'd just like to raise your virtual hand using the raise hand or react buttons at the bottom of your screen. If you have any technical issues, can you just send a message to me via the chat? And I'd like to hand you over to our MC for the evening, James Finnegan.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the District 71 Centenary celebration of 100 years of Toastmasters. 100 years of empowering communicators, developing leaders, building confidence in individuals for the benefit of the communities all over the world. Let us hear the profound wisdom of our esteemed founder, Dr. Ralph C. Smedley, from the good man himself.
What is the story behind Toastmasters? No man knows it better than its founder, Dr. Ralph C. Smedley. Dr. Smedley.
Toastmasters grew out of an effort to meet the needs of a group of men in Bloomington, Illinois, more than half a century ago. In those days, I was a YMCA secretary. Many of the men with whom I was associated in that work needed help in talking and in meeting other people. They had ideas, but they did not know how to express them. However, they did not want a formal class in public speaking, and when I suggested a club in which they could learn to talk by talking, they welcomed the idea. I believed in the sound pedagogical principles of learning by doing and improving through helpful suggestions or constructive criticism, as I preferred to call it. Businessmen, professional men, laboring men of a variety of occupations came into the club, and they were surprised by the results which they achieved through following our simple process of practice and criticism. We were strictly an educational group. We avoided the atmosphere of the classroom, and we learned in moments of enjoyment. As men in other communities heard of our plan, they desired the same training for themselves. It is gratifying, as I look back over our development through the years, to know that the growth has been the result of the desire of men to improve themselves in speech and in communication with other people. Yes, many thousands of men throughout the free world have profited by Toastmasters training and have been led into more productive living, more satisfactory living by this means. I hope to see many thousands more given the advantage of this training in the years to come.
Those of us who remember Pathé News, and I look around and I see, yes, we are that old. That was a wonderful introduction to what's going to be a spectacular evening of commemoration, of enjoyment, because as the wise man once said, we learn best in moments of enjoyment. We want to particularly recognize some esteemed visitors this evening. Past International Presidents Ted Cochran, Pat Johnson, and Mairead Matheson. Past International Directors Mark Leverang and Rick Sider, also parliamentarian. All of these are esteemed, valued friends of District 71. Now, please welcome our District 71 Director, distinguished Toastmaster, Mr. Daniel Banks, to the virtual lectern.
Thank you very much, MC James. You gave me my Sunday name there, Daniel. Thank you. Only my mum's ever called me that, but there we go. I have to say, it's an honour in the centenary year to be district director. And it's a great time to reflect. It's a great time to reflect on what's been achieved in the past 100 years and to think about what we might achieve in the next century. But I wonder, I'm just actually talking with past International President Ted just before we started. It did raise the question, did Dr. Smedley know what he was starting when he held that first meeting 100 years ago in Santa Ana? Did he realise what an amazing organisation it would grow into and that it would last so long? As I say, it's been 100 years since that event, and as we heard on that clip, there were many years before that when he was trying to develop a program to help people. And I think if we look at it now, the needs that he was trying to cater for then in America in the 1920s are so similar to the needs that we've got in our societies today. Certainly in the UK and Ireland, there are people who are struggling to get jobs or want to desperately get promoted. And some of the skills that we offer could help them. So there is still that need, perhaps a greater need now than when he started. So that is something for us to think about and to, as we go into the next century. Excuse me. We also celebrate the men and eventually women who have built up this organisation into what it is, the people who brought it to these shores, the people who developed it in Ireland and Scotland and England and Wales. And as I sit here with this chain of office on, this contains the name of all the district directors going back, I think, to 1972. And these are all people who have helped to make Toastmasters what it is in our district. A strong force that is helping people become better at speaking and leadership and improving and helping their lives. So that is the history we've got to look back on, that wonderful 100 years of since this first meeting to now. But as I said, we've also got to look to the future. We're in a position, we're at the beginning of the next century of Toastmasters. What are we going to do to make it last another 100 years? What are we going to do to make sure that we look to the challenges that we've got in this century? The challenges of Zoom, the challenges of working online, the challenge, all these things, AI. How are we going to face that and still be strong in 100 years' time? So I think it's a fantastic time to think about those things, and it's a fantastic time to celebrate. So we're going to celebrate tonight in lots of ways, as MC James has intimated, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for coming, and thank you for all those people who've come from outside our district and the dignitaries we've got here. I hope you enjoy this evening, and I look forward to meeting you later. So back to our MC, James. Thank you.
Thank you very much, District Director Danny. The theme for the district this year was to enjoy, grow, and celebrate. And I think this evening is going to show just how important that is. I would like to welcome our Club Growth Director, Steve Campion, to introduce our first keynote speaker of the evening. Over to you, Steve.
Thank you very much, James. It is a pleasure to be here, and I feel truly honoured to be introducing our first keynote speaker. This is someone who joined Toastmasters in 1985. He joined Fingal Toastmasters, and they obviously saw something in him because they made him a club president straight away. He did a lot within Toastmasters, eventually becoming the district governor, as was, of District 71. In 1992, he developed the Club Excellence Programme, which became the Distinguished Club Programme that we all know and love. And in 2003, he became the first European to be the president of Toastmasters International. He's someone that we all know, love, and cherish. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce past international president, Ted Corcoran. Ted.
Mr. District Director, fellow Toastmasters, as a new century beckons, what is your goal, your desire, your purpose in the next stage of your membership in club and our district? Will you pursue it with both passion and persistence? How will you leave your mark on our organization? How did Dr. Smedley's unique idea 100 years ago grow as of this month into a worldwide organization of some 14,000 clubs and nearly 300,000 members? He certainly left a mark as he pursued his dream with both passion and persistence. The answer is that thousands and thousands of ordinary people over the last 100 years, instilled with a sense of service and driven by the idea that improving people's communication skills would not alone help the individual, but their communities, their country, and their world. They made it happen. Freely giving of their time and acting with a real sense of purpose, underlaid with passion, they spread the idea of Toastmasters across the world. Tonight, we acknowledge their great work and celebrate their contributions. But it's a sobering thought, isn't it, that today we are these people, as we've inherited the mantle. It is now our responsibility to take Toastmasters International forward into the new century. So my message tonight is,
I didn't move the keys.
My message tonight is brief, clear, and very simple. A successful start to the new century depends on all of us and our active involvement in Toastmasters to ensure it thrives and grows. To help us understand how we got to where we are, I'll first look at growth from Dr. Smedley's initiative to how we've grown in Great Britain and Ireland, and finally, how much we rely on volunteer members to increase our clubs and members here and around the world, and how we all can help. Brad Smedley's vision was to provide an organization where individuals could go to improve their communication, skills of thinking, listening, and speaking in a friendly, supportive, and enjoyable environment. In turn, and in the process, improve their leadership skills to be more effective leaders in their profession, their community, and their homes. Dr. Smedley also envisioned the organization of being a powerful force in fostering and guiding individuals to achieve personal growth. A major part of being a successful leader, as we know, is the ability to persist in face of failures and obstacles. Dr. Smedley himself is a perfect example. He started clubs in different United States, with each one closed when he moved away. It took almost 20 years for a club to take hold and survive, the Smedley #1 club, still in existence today in Anaheim, California. His achievement is a fine example of a sense of purpose allied with passion and persistence. His vision is indeed timeless. It is as valid today as it was 100 years ago. That's the reason I embraced it in 1985 and continue to subscribe to it today. Initially slow to spread outside North America, Toastmasters has now spread to every corner of the world. Moving now to the spread of Toastmasters in these islands, which is described in detail in my book, A Comprehensive History of Toastmasters in Britain and Ireland, published by our district in 2022. The following is a very brief summary of the key points. Sure, we couldn't have a centenary celebration without a mention, could we? It's almost 90 years since the first club on these islands was founded in Southport in England in 1935 by a William Lancaster, who was shortly afterwards elected to the board of directors at the 1936 convention in Santa Barbara, but he sadly passed away a year later. But the Toastmasters bug had already spread across the border to Scotland, where the first club, Glasgow, was chartered in May 1937 by William Goldie. Very quickly, in December 1945, District 18 was formed with just 6 clubs. Over the next decade or so, the number had grown to 20 clubs by 1950, and amazingly had mushroomed to 59 by 1953. Amazing growth generated by the giants at the time. Now, it took almost another 20 years for the club to be chartered in Ireland. The Dublin club, built and chartered in 1958 by our own Irish giant, Paddy Cunningham. It was a difficult and complicated chartering, but the club still lives on today. By 1992, there were some 150 clubs in these islands, but differences of opinion between TI and our leaders here prompted some 120 clubs, principally in Scotland, to leave and form their own organisation. The remaining 21 English, 3 Scottish and 7 Irish clubs were pulled together by the next giant of the times, Gaylord Giants. And with the blessing of TI, were signed to the proposed new district in February 1972. 20 years later, in 1995, almost 30 years ago now, another stalwart, John Smith, brought Toastmasters back to Scotland, chartering the first club there since the district formation. Now there are 19 clubs in Scotland. Our district continued to grow and grow, and finally, in 2014, it was reformed into 2 districts, 71 and 91, each of which has continued to thrive and now have a total of some 370 clubs between them. Who could have guessed? A clear sense of purpose, supported with the passion and persistence of countless volunteers, have brought us to this place. And it's volunteers like you who will take Toastmasters into and through the next century. A subject I would like to raise with you now. How many of you have served in any of the various roles or committees in a club, area, division, or district? If not, well, why not? There are several vacancies every year. Will you step up for one? Enthusiastic and hard-working club and district officers are the key to our future success. Maybe you feel it's too much of a challenge, or that you've been able to do it successfully. I've been known to offer the following advice to people who are reluctant to take up positions in different organizations they belong to. The first one is always say yes to opportunity, always. You never know where it will take you. At the very first meeting of Fingal Toastmasters in 1985, I was invited to be the first president. Many of you know how that turned out. I ended up serving as the international president of Toastmasters International for year 2003, 2004, 20 years ago now. Second piece of advice, never be reluctant to ask for help or advice. People are generally very willing to help. And number 3, always, always, always believe you're as good as the next person. I got elected to the board in 96. I went to my first board meeting in February 97. Big long table, 23 people. I was the only outsider representing the rest of the world outside North America. Mark Laverne was there, of course, able to speak and talk and do all the things that Mark does. And I said, what am I doing here? Well, what chance have I surviving with these 23 people? But then I found out I could, and I did. And it was a big lesson for me that even though we feel we're in over our heads, we do and can survive. To sum up, When Dr. Smedley started, and our own giants and forefathers over the years here have grown and expanded, it now falls to us and those volunteers who will follow us to continue the momentum and growth. In conclusion, and in their absence, I thank thousands and thousands of people worldwide and in the UK and Ireland who have been members of Toastmasters International at some stage over the 100 years since its foundation in 1924 for their contributions to society generally and to Toastmasters International in particular. But now, like our predecessors before us, we are currently the responsible ones. The old saying is so correct, you know. If it is to be, it's up to me. Will you be one of these new volunteers and leave your mark? We're all here for a while. We leave our mark on our club, district, and Toastmasters in one way or another. But inevitably, that mark may one day disappear or be overtaken by a better idea or practice. However, in the meantime, our contributions will help our members grow, develop, and in turn contribute to society. Yet, as we will at some stage inevitably leave, our wonderful organization lives on, changing the lives of countless people for the better. So our contributions always matter. I recall by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, which in metaphorical form deals with this. Let's call it leaving our mark and moving on, while the organization we've served continues to thrive and grow. The poem is entitled "The Tide Rises, the Tide Falls," and it contrasts the certainty of the tide with the fragility of individual actions and events through the example of the traveler. This is how it goes. The tide rises, the tide falls. The twilight darkens, and the curlew calls. Along the sea sands damp and brown, the traveler hastens towards the town. And the tide rises, the tide falls. Darkness settles on roofs and walls, but the sea in the darkness calls. The little waves with their soft white hands efface the footprints in the sands. And the tide rises, the tide falls. The morning breaks, the steeds in their stalls stamp and neigh as the hostler calls. The day returns, but never more returns the traveler to the shore. And the tide rises, the tide falls. Fellow Toastmasters, in this poem it could be said that each one of us is that traveler, while Toastmasters International is the tide, still very active, steady, and reliable after 100 long, successful years. Fellow travelers, I wish you safe travels on your onward journey as a Toastmaster member. But please, 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 leave your mark as you go. Then the next century of success will be assured. Working together, let's begin it in a very positive manner, with further growth in clubs and members, our desired goal. We know we can do it, so let's get to work. Fellow Toastmasters, as one century ends, the new century beckons. Look out, here we come, Mr. Director.
Oh, Ted, thank you so very much. There's a wee note from Mark Laverne in the chat. All of us who served with Ted on the board back in the 1990s were charmed and very much in awe of Ted. So much so that we backed him when he ran for second vice president in 2000. He was the best. Let me just say, Ted, you can take the man from Kerry, but you can't take Kerry from the man.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, James.
And now, friends and colleagues, something creative and opportune for today. Please welcome Administration Manager Paige Skelton to the virtual lectern to tell us more.
Thank you very much, MC James. From West Africa, born and raised, but Sheffield was where he spent a lot of his days. Eating Yorkshire pudding and shepherd's pie, his love for music and poetry began to fly. Toastmasters was the soil that helped him plant his seed, and that seed bloomed into the expression that we see. So please, all of you from near and far, welcome our poet in residence, Prince Aqua.
A century ago. Hello, Diahuit, hello. A new dawn begins to bellow. A new dawn built on the shoulders of giants. For 100 years, we have formed this alliance. For a century, we've been the masters of toast, the masters of cheer, and the masters of host. See, what butters our bread is different from that of most. So please come close, grab your pen and take notes. In 1924, we burst through the door. A century it has been, and what a century, of course. At a time like this, it can help to look back and recap to understand the Toastmasters' impact. A century ago, oh, a century ago, I said a century ago, we burst through the door. 21 years before, the first plane did soar. And just like that plane, our words take flight off the runway of our page as we master the stage. Oh, a century ago, we burst through the door. And a decade either side, the worlds wage war. And we wage war, but not on human beings, but war on the fear of letting voices soar. Oh, a century ago, Toastmasters set pace. And 3 decades after came the race to space. But our race to space is learning to raise the levels of our speech till we reach the stars. A century ago, the first thread was sown. And 60 years after came the World Wide Web. But at that point, we were already a worldwide net, 150,000 interlinked before the internet. Oh, a century ago, Toastmasters touched down. And almost a century after the world locked down. Coronavirus took our loves, our lives, our why. And Toastmasters gave us a home when we were stuck in our homes. So whether rain or shine, through the pain of life, through the wars that rage for the rest of time. A century ago, our forefathers had a vision, and it's on our shoulders to carry forward that mission. You were more than a member, you were more than committee. This is more than a club, this is more than some fun. This is more than a speech, this is more than a role. We are all more than what those titles mean. So I beg of you, let's continue to plant seeds. Let's continue to change lives. Let's continue to prevail, no matter the fight. A century ago, none of us had even met, but we stand arm in arm, ready for what comes next. That was a century ago, and now we have a century to go. Thank you.
Wow. What a spectacular, poetic, artistic inspiration that was. Thank you so much, Prince Aqua. And unlike yourself and Paige, I am not going to go into the rhythm and rhyme to describe that performance. But I will point out that you've got lots of very positive comments here in the chat, particularly from Timothy Green, who says, getting a bunch of facts in with that much rhythm is impressive. And as anybody who's seen me dance will tell you, rhythm and I just don't go together. It is actually one of the great inspiration things about District 71 is that we have poets in residence. And that was an initiative started by our immediate past district director, Elizabeth Jordan. And when you see quality like that coming up, it makes it all so very worthwhile. Thank you again, Prince.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm now delighted to invite our District Program Quality Director, Mairead Dillon, to introduce our second keynote speaker. Over to you, Mairead.
Thank you very much, MC James. I can honestly say I'm so excited to introduce our next speaker. I've had the pleasure of meeting her firsthand and seeing her in operation, and she really is an amazing speaker. So this person is a seasoned executive within the corporate world, where she implements training programs, not only for employees, but also for management. As a Toastmaster, she has been 4 decades in Toastmasters and has operated at the highest of levels. Then she very wisely observes there is an absolute total link between the corporate world and their training programs and Toastmasters. And that led her to writing and publishing a book called A Handbook for Building and Sustaining Vibrant Toastmasters Programs in corporations. She wrote that book in 2018 and now speaks all over the world on that exact topic. So it gives me a huge pleasure to introduce our second keynote speaker tonight, past international president of Toastmasters International, Pat Johnson.
Thank you so much for that. A warm welcome, Mary, and also a welcome to District 71. What a pleasure to be with you tonight. If my screen is not very well, power outage at home, so this is a makeshift production, so we'll do what we can with it. So hopefully you're hearing me and seeing me. Norman Cousins said that the moment you have made an impact on the life of someone else, you have made an approach to immortality. Just imagine back in the 1920s, can you just imagine that your name is Ralph Smedley and you're sitting in your YMC office, there's men coming and going in your life, you're carrying out the business, and you have an idea. Anybody here had an idea that you tried to bring to fruition? Well, I imagine Smedley sitting around, and I think that he probably had doubts, a lot of doubts about where this idea might actually take him as he devised the plan to meet the needs of those male workers that he saw, the workforce. And he said they need better speaking skills. What a simplistic concept. And here we are 100 years later celebrating it. Imagine him getting up, going to the YMCA, and while carrying out his job, creating a plan to have men get together and actually meet together to talk in order to learn to become better speakers. This was his dream, but this also became his legacy. How many of us have made plans or dreamt of something and never got it off the ground? But year after year, and start and failure after start and failure, Ralph Smedley persisted until in 1924, as we all know, Toastmasters came into existence. This education process, which in Smedley's own words was driven by a practical need where the objective was easy and simple, to learn how to speak by speaking. He speaks on record about how it was pedagogically correct in that we would learn by doing, experiential learning. And this is what I love so much about Toastmasters. This is how we get to know one another. The most powerful way to learn and to build skills. Another element that Smedley speaks of is that we learn best in moments of enjoyment. It's not just all about getting together and having fun. He says we're learning because this is an education program. Our founder's intention as he built his legacy was that it would prepare us better for our jobs and the various roles in our world. Our friend who just spoke prior to Prince, past international president Ted Corcoran, spoke about the UK and the European history and some of the many people who carried that baton forward overseas away from me where I was in Canada, around our globe to continue the spread and adoption of Toastmasters, and how grateful we are for all those predecessors. Did you know that Dr. Ralph Smedley struggled and fought against change, just as so many of us do today in the Toastmasters program? Dr. Ralph Smedley actually fought against writing down a learning program. And although this may have been a difficult step for him to take, imagine the strength and resilience it provided to his dream, to his vision, to his concept of us learning to speak by speaking. His ultimate legacy, he challenged the things that he resisted. How often have you and I pushed back against progress, or taking that next step, or doing something that we didn't want to do, that stretched us out of our comfort zone? Think of your resistance to pathways. Think of resistance when we had changes in the Distinguished Club Plan, or a role changed, and you're going, and he was our founder. Dr. Ralph Smedley, fortunately for us, finally conceded, and our Toastmasters program manuals were created. And I personally am grateful for that. Changes continued throughout the years and decades as men continued learning to speak by speaking. I met a person in one of the Toastmaster clubs in Victoria. His name was Sandy Robertson. And Sandy used to brag to me about how he was one of Smedley's boys. I don't know if you've ever met one of Smedley's boys, but Sandy was a very proud Smedley boy. And he used to tell me all the time what it was like in those days. Now, I'm not going to tell you about them. You have to find me personally at a convention, and I'll tell you some of those stories. But as the legacy grew, changes emerged again. And in 1974, women were finally accepted above board. Now, let's be clear. Women were showing up at Toastmasters meetings many years before we were on record. There were some gracious clubs, some gracious men that embraced us to sit in their presence and participate in the Toastmasters program. We were there, we were learning, we were listening, we were thinking. We may not have been on the speaking program, I'm not sure. But the story's told that, you know, as many changes take place, there's those edges, there's those early adopters that are in place. And so those women that stepped out and those clubs that let them come in to embrace the Toastmasters program, we're indebted to. We know of some clubs, maybe you personally know of some clubs that took women and had them sign up, often not with their name. Well, never with their name, often with an initial. So as we meet Helen Blanchard, well, we didn't meet her as Helen Blanchard. She was first registered as H. Blanchard. And some of you have heard the story of how Toastmasters wrote back and said, we need a name. We can't just take an initial anymore. I suspect they were catching on that there were women who were not allowed in the organization joining under initials. As a result of that request for a name, Helen's club held a table topics contest. And the result of that table topics contest was that they decided and voted that her name would be Homer. And therefore her name was officially submitted to World Headquarters as Homer Blanchard. Now, the part that we don't know so much about is that when that table topics contest took place, how Homer came to be the chosen, voted, winning name for Helen was the story of Ulysses and the Trojan horse. So I think it's kind of neat that we snuck her in. Kind of. So Helen went on to be a great role model for many of us in the organization. She was our first female international director and went on to be our first international president. There was not only access for women, but there was acceptance. Helen, like so many of us, our predecessors, left us with words of wisdom. She progressed in the Toastmasters world and provided us with the opportunity to access the experience and to build our legacy. Now, outside forces of Toastmasters International drive some of our internal changes. And to note just a couple of major ones that have influenced us over the past, well, I'll say recent decades. I'm not going to go back to years that when I was born. But of major note, in about 15 years ago, I think it was 2009, where we voted in districts not assigned to regions, of which you were part of, and create globalization, where we all played at the same table with the same rules and the same benefits. That worldwide reach and growth. That was a phenomenal step of progress in my time. And then there was our education system. As we took our education program to the corporate world and the world outside the education world, they said, it's too archaic. It has to be digitalized. And that drove us to do pathways. And we know what a change that has been and what a challenge to adapt as we've built our legacy to 100 years. So we continue to challenge and evolve and to be able to continue this legacy into the future. We also need to adapt and respond to our evolving world as our personal legacies are evolve if we're to survive. We have, as an organization, evolved. We have survived, and I think that we have survived the forces that are in our world, and I trust that we'll continue to do so into the future. We are stewards of this organization. It is our personal responsibility to uphold the values, to uphold the policies, the bylaws, to speak respectfully of this organization that has given us so much, and to show up where we, in those moments of enjoyment, learn to speak by speaking. So let's step outside these thoughts for a moment and just imagine Smedley sitting there again, and on a daily basis, what would go through his mind as he tried to pull this organization together? Do you think he had doubts? Do you think he got tired of resistance? Do you think he got tired of people saying his ideas were a bit crazy, or that it was a waste of time, that he was a dreamer, or maybe impractical or foolish? Well, as we fast forward to today, wherever we may be in this world, we can look back and those 100 years and think, thank goodness he didn't give up on that dream. Thank goodness he didn't give in to that resistance, that he didn't listen to the people that called him a dreamer or foolish. And he brought us the gift of Toastmasters for our own personal growth and development. So let's take back a few minutes and reflect to where we started and where we're going. Let's celebrate the rich legacy that we have all benefited from and continue to build it into our future. And also consider and appreciate how amazing and powerful Dr. Ralph Smedley is in fueling each one of our own personal legacies, albeit professional, in our workplace, in our communities, in our volunteer world, just in our personal interactions, our dreams, our hopes, how those skills that we've gained from his dreams, his plans, his legacy have supported our growth. What was a simple concept 100 years ago has changed millions of lives in this world, where people have survived and thrived and went on and impacted people around them through their own life. I invite each one of you to share in this momentous occasion, to look in the rear view mirror, to celebrate our shared yesterdays in Toastmasters, to look around us at the people who have gone with us on those steps, to remember the people that gave us evaluations, stood and clapped for us, cheered us on, gave us feedback over and over again, and to gaze into the bright and evolving future of where we're challenged to evolve and grow personally with this legacy as it continues. We are, each one of us, a vital part of this organization, of this future. And may we build our own strengths, our own dreams, our own legacy as we continue to be solid, loyal stewards of the Toastmasters legacy. The moment you have made an impact on the life of someone else, you have made an approach to immortality. My fellow Toastmasters, I know that Dr. Ralph Smedley did just such a thing for millions of people worldwide, and I wish the same for you. Mr. Chair.
Oh, Pat, with yourself and Ted and Murray, we have a wonderful example of leadership by leading by example. And to follow on from one of your themes, they may say he was a dreamer, but apparently he was not the only one. Sorry, Prince, I had to steal that one somewhere. Thank you so very much, Pat. But while you're on about service, can I just recognize on behalf of the district, all the many past district, division, area office holders who are with us tonight, either in person or in spirit. Thank you for your service. I've also been informed that we have a number of past district directors, David Thompson, Kevin Lee, Harry Knox, Gerard Mannix, Diane Richardson has joined us from District 91. You're all extremely welcome. We also have our previous poets in residence, Anya O'Neill, Philip Campani, and Mike Keenan. Now, it has been suggested that we have a poet dance-off, which will be wonderful, but I think we'll save that for another evening. It's all right, lads, you can relax. I was only joking. Moving on. This is not the only celebration that we have held in this district to celebrate this wonderful anniversary. And to tell us a little bit more about what else has been going on in the district, would you please join me in welcoming our Public Relations Manager, Angela Afegi, Afegi, to the virtual stage.
Thank you very much, MC James. Thank you so much. You're very welcome, everyone, and thank you very much, everyone, for coming on today. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. As we gather here today under the banner of a century of eloquence, it's my honor to address each of you as the Public Relations Manager for this centenary year, and for this monumental event. We come together celebrating 100 years of growth, learning, and shared experiences that have shaped the essence of Toastmasters. First and foremost, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to all of you, our District 71 members, who have contributed tirelessly to the success of our centenary year celebrations. Your enthusiasm, dedication, and the spirit of service have truly embodied the essence of Toastmasters. Let's reflect on our remarkable journey through the 100 kilometers for 100 years challenge. Not only did we aim to cover 100 kilometers, but together we surpassed this target and walked a combined distance of over 206 kilometers. This achievement symbolizes our collective efforts, our shared steps towards personal and professional development, and our boundless capacity to exceed expectations. I am super proud to be a member of District 71. Additional poems and 100 words for 100 years initiative. Your words have added a rich layer to our celebration, weaving together our diverse voices in forms of prose and poetry that captures the spirit of our organization. And let's not forget the Brand Builder Centenary Incentive. Clubs across our district took these celebrations to heart, hosting events that not only honored our past, but also paved the way for our future. The initiative brought our history and achievements to the forefront at the club level, engaging and inspiring new and long-standing members. In the words of Ralph Smedley, the founder of Toastmasters, we learn best in moments of enjoyment. This year has been a testament to that philosophy as we have celebrated, learned, and grown together. And this has also been in line with our theme this year, which is Celebrate, Grow, and Learn. Now, to visually encapsulate our journey through this centenary year, I invite you to watch a video showcasing some of the highlights of our celebrations across the district, from the kilometers walked to the celebrations that the different clubs had. This video is a tribute to you, the heart and soul of Toastmasters. Thank you once again for your unwavering commitment and spirited participation. Here's to another years of Toastmasters, 100 years of Toastmasters, where leaders are made and eloquence thrives. Over to you, Zoom Master, to play the video. My internet is very bad, so I can't share my screen and play the video. So Nick will just play the video for us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Back to you, MC.
Thank you very much, Public Relations Manager Angela. I couldn't help but notice there seemed to be a lot of food and cake. Is that why you had to do the walk? Friends and colleagues, we couldn't have a Toastmaster gathering without some relevant table topics. And who better to call them out than our old friend, Sue Burnett.
Thank you, MC James, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests. and dignitaries. I am absolutely blown away that 36,500 days ago, one man had this dream. Imagine that brought us all together here in this room. So today I'm going to ask you some questions, and I will hope you join in this celebration. So my first question is, before I go on to the questions, I believe we've got 60 minutes to answer our questions tonight, so I hope our timer can time that for you. So my first question, if you could host a celebration in honour of Dr. Ralph Smedley, what would be the theme and why? And that question goes to Mark Levine.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was actually about ready to post a comment saying that I have to take my leave, but you caught me just before I took my leave. Thank you very much, Table Topics Master Sue Burnett. And the question, of course, is, what, in a nutshell, 10 words or less, if I had to organize another event, how would I create it, or what would characterize it? Is that basically the question?
Yeah.
Well, I would study the great events, especially the great events in Toastmasters. I mean, we are so joyful and creative, and I know Pat Johnson's going to smile when I mention this. Even our business meetings, our annual business meeting, somehow we manage to end up dancing in the aisles, the conga line, the YMCA songs. I mean, and what other organization? Think about this. Now, you belong, I'm sure we all belong to a lot of other organizations, civic groups, fraternal groups, religious organizations, political groups. Do any of them run business meetings as joyfully as we do? Any of them? I mean, I think we'd be hard pressed to find another organization that has as much fun, even with the dry and gray business issues, to have as much fun as we do. So that's the first thing. We want to study the great food. I think you mentioned food. Yes, I know Dr. Smedley said we learn in moments of enjoyment. And I know, and by the way, the very first meeting that occurred 100 years ago tonight at the YMCA began with dinner, affordable, mind you, dinner that was served before the actual meeting began. So you got to have food. And I know for those of you that will be attending tonight in person, there'll be a lot of food, right? Master of Ceremonies, James Finnegan, I see he's smiling. He's already thinking about all the good stuff he'll be eating. So you got to have food. You want to have fun. You want to make even the business meetings light and enjoyable. And finally, you want to have as much participation as possible. I'm impressed that you have an hour devoted to table topics, which will maximize the number of people that will have their chance to have their say at this event. Keep doing it and keep showing us, the rest of the world, how it should be done. Thank you, District 71. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mark. That's a great celebration. My next question. How can Toastmasters clubs today celebrate the legacy of Dr. Smedley while continuing to innovate? And that question will go to Catherine Ryan.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. Can you repeat the question again?
Yes, of course. Oh, I've lost the question. I'll ask you another question. Okay. How can Toastmasters clubs today celebrate the legacy of Dr. Smedley while continuing to innovate? I didn't lose it. It was there all the time in front of me. Over to you, Catherine.
Thank you very much, Madam Table Topics Master. I think it's fantastic the way Dr. Smedley has set up the club 100 years ago, and how I believe it was his 5th time to start a club. It had failed 4 times previous, and you know, he got it going then on the 5th time. Now, recently I belong to Tullamore Toastmasters, and recently we had our 30th anniversary celebration. And for that, we invited a lot of past members, and we had lovely food, and we had some speeches, some topics, and it was a fantastic evening. And we did recognise Dr. Ralph Smedley at that, and even though he can't be with us, it's just great to recognise and to remember him for his great work. So if we were to have a celebration and bring in his legacy, I think to remember, you know, the great work that he done to bring people together. And every day I mention Toastmasters to somebody new, and a lot of people still haven't heard about Toastmasters, but they're very interested in it when they, you know, hear what it's about. And it's a group where you can practice your public speaking so that you'll eliminate the fear of public speaking. And I think that will always be his legacy, and hopefully every club's legacy. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Catherine, for sharing that legacy with us.
Thank you.
If Dr. Ralph Smedley were alive today, how do you think he would celebrate Toastmasters' global success? And that question will go to Howard Balkines. So over to you, Howard.
Hi. My position on this is quite simple. I think one of the things that Ralph Smedley would look at is that we have in fact been become international, and I myself am Jewish, but I've met lots of people that are Christians, Roman Catholics, Muslims, and we've all become friends. It doesn't matter around the world, wherever we are. As you all probably know, last year I suffered a very serious illness, and to recover, because I was in hospital for 9 months, I managed to Zoom a lot of clubs. And every time I Zoomed a club, they welcomed me. And I think that's possibly one of the most important things. The other thing to remember is we're all amateurs. None of us are professional when we go to a club. And I think one of the most important programs that we actually have is the mentoring program. When a new member comes into a club, we make them welcome. And I think that's possibly one of the most important things that we actually do, because we have to get clubs to grow. I'm a member of a second club and I am the mentor. And it's the first club this year that is actually chartered. So we will be holding a charter dinner, I think, early November, and we welcome everyone to come. So I think, and I just thank Toastmasters, because I think it helped with my personal recovery. And that's one of the aims of Toastmasters, is to improve. And I have improved because of the friendship that I've actually received. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Howard. Mentoring is magical, and I'm glad that you've benefited from that. My next question is, what aspect of Dr. Smedley's vision for Toastmasters do you think is most worth celebrating? And that question goes to Maura.
Oh, Madam Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, and very... Yes, I love your question. Yes, the vision. I think that if Dr. Smedley will be here, I think that his vision or the most valuable thing is to see people from all parts of the world. How beautiful it is, how amazing it is that even in this screen, we can see people from different countries. How can you imagine somebody in America? Yes. And now it is in England, in Italy, in Spain, in all parts of the world. How beautiful it is to make someone who is able to make somebody who is afraid to talk to be a world champion. What a vision is that? How beautiful it is that you as a human person, you just have some group of people and you become a leader. That you can change the life of people. You have the capacity to have your skills, all your knowledge, all your experience, and mentoring people to do somebody better. How beautiful vision is. How much valuable is. The fact is that I hope that the vision of Toastmasters is not only enjoy, not only entertain, to make people better and to follow the core values. Back to you, and thank you for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maura. That's very beautiful. Now, my next question is, how do you think Dr. Smedley would want members to celebrate their personal achievements in public speaking? And I'd like to offer that question to our past international director, Morag Matheson. So over to you, Morag.
Thank you very much, Table Topics Master. Hello, fellow Toastmasters and friends. How would Dr. Smedley like members to celebrate their personal achievements? I think the way that he would choose, or maybe it's just the way I would choose, is to tell the world, shout about it. He was a man of his time. He'd expect us to use the means of our time, whether that was on social media, creating videos, or as simple as inviting people round for food and telling them and showing them the great skills that they have developed. I think also he'd want not just for us to tell the world about them, but to show the world by having the greatest impact we can and using those skills to their maximum potential, so that when someone says, "How did you learn to do that?" you can say, "Because of Toastmasters." Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Maura. That sounds amazing. So my next question is, what do you imagine Dr. Smedley's reaction would be if he attended a modern day Toastmasters celebration event? And I'd like to offer that question to Geroid Murphy. So over to you, Geroid. Is Geroid not in the room? In that case, then, I will offer that question to John Alsop. So over to you, John. I think we might have lost John as well. I think the names have moved on. So let's go to another gentleman. Richard Cutts, are you in the room?
Yes, I am.
Ah, fantastic. Would you like to read the question again?
Please,
Yeah, no worries. What do you imagine Dr. Ralph Smedley's reaction would be if he attended a modern day Toastmasters celebration event?
In 60 seconds, I think he'd be delighted that his legacy has lasted 100 years, and he would look upon the new members coming through in all of the clubs and be absolutely thrilled that his work is being carried to this degree and looks set to go for the next 100 years. I think it would validate all the struggles and effort he put in at the beginning, as we'd heard from the earlier speakers. to ensure that many of us could benefit from learning greater communication and leadership skills. And I think he'd be quite impressed with how the digital world has embraced his legacy, but also focuses back on how much more rewarding it is when we can do such things in person. So I'm sure that he would be greatly pleased and would be long celebrating with all of us here tonight.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Richard. Time's up. Is that the complete section finished? If that is so, then thank you very much for your contributions and your 60 seconds in the spotlight. I'm blown away by your answers and your celebratory celebrations of Dr. Ralph Smedley. So back to you, MC James.
Thank you so very much, Sue. What wonderful questions. A big round of applause for Sue Burnett.
Thank you.
And now, friends and colleagues, another special moment in these centenary celebrations. Would you please welcome to the virtual podium immediate past District Director Elizabeth Jordan.
Thank you very much, Mr. MC James, distinguished Toastmasters, friends of the district, members of the DLT, and members and guests. It's a huge honor on behalf of the DLT for me to present some special centenary awards. The awards are going to people who have uplifted our district. Past International President Ted Corcoran said it very nicely when he mentioned people who've made their mark. And all these people have made their mark by having impact and influence in the district and beyond. So tonight we're going to honor a few of them and to show our gratitude, our deep respect, and our, as I said, deep, deep appreciation for what they're doing and what they will continue to do for us. Mr. Toastmaster, may I have the first slide, please? Thank you. I am sure that no one in the audience is surprised that one of our key awards is being presented to someone whom I just love this title, the Irish Oracle. It sums up his wit and wisdom, generosity, and he really is someone, he knows this, that the district greatly respects, greatly appreciates, and we love and cherish you. It goes, of course, to past International President, distinguished Toastmaster, Ted Corcoran. Can I please ask everyone to put their hands together and give a round of applause to the first recipient of our special centenary award. Next slide, please. The next award goes to a member of Toastmasters, one of the Irish clubs, Ennis. She's not in the audience with us tonight, but this will be forwarded to her. Marie Pine. Marie was the world champion of public speaking in 1985, which makes her unique. She's the first woman, the first Irish person to win the award. And I think she may even be the first female in Europe to have won that award. Her speech was entitled, "Age is a Hang-Up on Numbers." And for those of you who've got Ted Corcoran's, Ted Corcoran's history book, the entire speech verbatim is in there. I would urge you to read it. So let's put our hands again together for Marie Pine, the members of Ennis Club, in bringing this distinction to our district in winning the World Championship of Public Speaking in 1985. Round of applause, please. Our next slide, please, Mr. Zoom Master. Teresa Jukes. Teresa is well known in the across the district, but she's held leadership roles as a district director. She was very much involved in the Reformation. She led the district to select distinguished status, and she was in 2015 to 17 an international director. We also know her as an author, a world-class speaker, and a leader. Let us put our hands together to give a round of applause and appreciation, show appreciation for Teresa Jukes, Distinguished Toastmaster. Next slide, please. Our next recipient is Distinguished Toastmaster Kevin Lee. Many people across the district will know him as a dynamic district leader, did a lot of work with areas and with clubs, areas, divisions and district. And really has the distinction of being the first division director post the Reformation to achieve select distinguished district. And that was really quite important as being a hallmark for us. And I think you'll all know that it was 8 years until that we achieved the select distinguished again. So we want to appreciate Distinguished Toastmaster Kevin for the work he's done with district, raising the standards of the district, setting the tone, and as I said, being very, very helpful to all our clubs, areas and divisions. Let us put our hands together and give him a huge round of applause. Thank you very much, Distinguished Toastmaster Kevin. Next slide, please. We also want to appreciate Distinguished Toastmaster Patricia O'Reilly. Patricia has done exceptional work at district level and also at regional level. And she had the distinction of taking a regional advisor's role not once, but twice. And she's also the founder of the club Molly Malone, an advanced online club. Patricia, we appreciate you, we appreciate all that you do, and let's again show our appreciation for this dynamic district and regional leader. Next slide, please. We want to also appreciate in this centenary year, the longest continuing serving member of a club. And we have 2 such members across the district. Robin Ward, a member of Dunleary Toastmasters, has been a Toastmaster for 46 years. Next slide, please. We also have Evelyn Campani, also a Toastmaster for 46 years, a member of NACE Club, and we both belong to Wordsmiths Online. This is a exceptional performance, 46 years of service to clubs. I know you've grown many, Evelyn, for instance, I know you've grown many clubs, you've contributed in many ways at district levels and in contests and so on. So to both of you, we say thank you for your long service and long may that continue. A round of applause for both of them, please. And the final slide. We also want to recognize, and PIP Ted mentioned this earlier, the oldest club in the district. It's club number 2601, Dublin Toastmasters. It's 66 years. Its president, Paddy Cunningham, did amazing work in helping to establish the club and to set the tone. And you can see on the left-hand side, all the charter committee. This club is, I've been told I'm hoping to visit it one day. It's a magnificent club, and the current president, Teresa Dempsey, we will of course be writing to congratulate her. So to everyone tonight who have had district citations, we just want to say thank you for all you do for our district. I think it was PIP Pat who said it. We are now the custodians. Dr. Smedley has led the way. It's now up to us to carry on his legacy. Thank you, and back to you, Mr. MC.
Appear to have lost the MC.
Oh, have we lost the MC? Okay, that's okay. No, it's not okay, but we do have an agenda. So, Madam PRM, do you want to tell us who is next on the agenda?
Coming back, actually.
He's coming back. Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Zoom Master.
Okay.
We have an exciting prize draw coming up. Is he back in the room?
I can't see him though.
You can't see him? Okay, maybe we can proceed. We know we're going to have the prize draw next, and I believe Madam PRM, it is our admin manager who is going to do the prize draw.
Yes, no, the finance manager.
Finance manager. Okay, so Will, it's over to you to do the fun prize draw.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Good evening, everyone. It's been, for myself anyway, an absolute privilege to participate in this celebration and to get to listen to some of the district's most esteemed and seriously talented members. So in order to round out the evening, we are going to have a quick little prize giveaway of just some pins and badges for some of the members in attendance. Now, as much fun as it would be to have some kind of virtual wheel spinning device that would facilitate picking out names, the executive decision was made by the committee to forego such a measure due to the very high risk of technical failures and any subsequent embarrassment. So the way we did it was we got a list of everybody here tonight. We numbered them, and then the district leadership committee chose numbers at random in order to pick the names. The following are the names corresponding to the numbers chosen. So a huge congratulations to Patricia Gray, Teresa Rhodes, Bimber Harty, Michelle DeLuna, and Harry Knox. I will reach out to all of you after this meeting with confirming your prize winning and details of how they're going to be awarded. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if MC James is back, but I hand the mic back. Thank you.
Okay, MC James, are you back with us?
I am indeed.
Excellent, excellent news.
The trouble is that when I heard that the district finance manager was doing what I would call a giveaway, my laptop just burst into spontaneous eruption. And thank you very much, Will. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Well, colleagues and friends, we're approaching the end of what has been a magnificent occasion. And I would like to call on our district director, Danny Banks, to give us the closing talk. Over to you, Danny.
Thank you. Can you see me? Can we see my head? There we go. I'd like, first of all, to thank everybody who's been involved tonight, the people presenting awards, past international president, Ted, and Pam. I would like to thank everybody who has given their time to join us tonight. So thank you very much for that. And I would also, there are a number of people who need a vote of thanks. Firstly, Angela, our PR manager. She's put so much work into this. She's organised the agenda. She's researched the videos. She's produced the videos. So tonight would not have happened without her. So she needs a big vote of thanks for everything that she's done. So well done, Angela. I'd also like to thank a couple of people who are behind the scenes. I'd like to thank Nick Collins for being Zoom Master. I think we are lucky in District 71 to have one of the best Zoom teams in the organisation, and Nick is a fantastic representative of that. So thank you very much, Nick, for that. I'd also like to thank Matty Bean, who has been our timer. Matty is just somebody you rely on. You know he'll be there, you know he'll do a good job, and he's a professional. So thank you to him as well. And last but not least in my list is our MC, James. When I heard that he was going to be MC, I thought, yeah, that's the right decision. A professional to the core, a professional Toastmaster, like the others, like Nick, like Matty, always there and ready to help out and can be relied on. So thank you. Thank you to all of those who've made this the success it is tonight. And I would like to conclude by offering, well, 2 toasts, basically. So if you have a glass, here's one I prepared earlier. If you have a glass, a mug, a cup, anything will do. I want to give 2 toasts to end off our meeting tonight. And I'd be grateful if you could at least switch on your audio for the toast. If you would like to switch your cameras on as well, that would be fantastic to see the wonderful people we've got here tonight. So my first toast is to Ralph Smedley. We've talked about him tonight. We've talked about his legacy, that meeting 100 years ago in California. It could have just flopped, but he kept going, and he'd been working hard before that. So he had that vision of what he wanted, and really thinking about it, I used to be a teacher, and one of the things he stressed was participative learning, so learning by doing, and that didn't come into schools till the 1970s, 80s, certainly in England. So he was ahead of his time there. So I would like us to toast, first of all, I would like to toast to Dr. Ralph Smedley and his legacy. So to Ralph Smedley and his legacy.
Ralph Smedley.
Ralph Smedley and his legacy.
Secondly, and it's been talked about tonight, PIP Pat and Ted and other people have mentioned it, not only is it a celebration of the first 100 years, it's a preparation for the next century. So I want us, and Ted alluded to this, I want us to think, what is our role going to be in the next few years to make sure that this fantastic organisation that we're all part of, that has been going for 100 years and has improved so many people's lives in countless countries in the world, what's our role going to be in this organisation to make sure we create the foundations, we create the vision for it to last another 100 years, to deal with the challenges that we face from all areas, AI and so on. So my toast will be to the next 100 years of Toastmasters, to the next 100 years of Toastmasters.
The next 100 years.
May the tide rise again.
Thank you for that, and I will now pass you back to our MC of the evening, James, to round everything off. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Danny. Friends and colleagues, we have celebrated 100 years. And I would remind you once again of the theme for this year's in the district is to enjoy, to grow, and to celebrate. I think we've done that tonight, and I think Dr. Smedley would be very proud of us. Who knows, he might even start writing a poem. On that happy note, good night, good luck, and may your God go with you.
Thank you so much,
Goodbye.
James.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.